Auzubillahiminashaitanirrajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Class 12th, subject economics. Today's topic is macroeconomics. Macroeconomics refers to the study of economic problems. When we talk about macroeconomics, it refers to the study of economic problems or economic issues. Economic problems or economic issues at the level of an economy as a whole. At the level of an economy as a whole, when we refers the study of economic problems or economic issues at the level of economy as a whole, the basic problem continues to be the problem of rational management of scarce resources as in microeconomics. But here in macroeconomics, focus shifts from maximization of individuals' gain to the maximization of social welfare. In macroeconomics, focus shifts from maximization of individuals' gain to the maximization of social welfare. The central issues in microeconomics relate to the overall of employment, growth rate of national output, the general price level, and stability of the economy. The central issues, I'll repeat it, the central issues in macroeconomics relate to the overall of employment, growth rate of national output, the general price level, and stability of the economy. Microeconomic studies, it study AD means aggregate demand and AS means aggregate supply. It studies macroeconomics. It study aggregate demand and aggregate supply. Analyzes equilibrium level of output. It analyzes macroeconomics. It analyzes equilibrium level of output is struck when AD is equal to AS. When AD is equal to AS, means aggregate demand is equal to aggregate supply. Now, departure from the full employment equilibrium level of output is analyzed as the problem of inflationary gap or deflationary gap. It analyzes means macroeconomics, it analyzes the problem of inflationary gap or deflationary gap in the economy. Physical and monetary policies are studied as measures to combat or to correct, we can say it, or to correct the situations of inflation and deflation. The situation of inflation or deflation. Also issues related to exchange rate and BOP. BOP means balance of payments. Exchange rate and balance of payments are studied with a view to analyzing impact on the domestic economy. Its impact means macroeconomic studies the inflationary gap and the deflationary gap and the measures to combat these policies by fiscal and monetary policies, and also issues related to exchange rate and balance of payments, which studies a view to analyze their impact on the domestic economy. Components of macroeconomics. Components of macroeconomics. Number one, theory related to equilibrium level of output and employment. Theory related to equilibrium level of output and employment. It studies how equilibrium is struck. It studies, the first point studies, it says how equilibrium is struck when AS is equal to AD, means aggregate supply is equal to aggregate demand. Point number two. Point number two is theory related to inflationary and deflationary gap in the economy. We already discussed inflationary gap and deflationary gap. It studies how departure from full employment equilibrium output causes inflationary gap or deflationary gap. Point number three. Theory of multiplier. This point analyzes, or theory of multiplier analyzes, the process of income generation owing to investment expenditure in the economy. I will repeat this point. Theory of multiplier. It analyzes the process of income generation owing to investment expenditure in the economy. Next point, point number four, fiscal and monetary policies. These relate to budgetary measures. These relate to budgetary measures and monetary measures respectively to correct to situations of inflationary and deflationary gap. Fiscal and monetary policies, they help us to measure or to correct to situation when there is inflationary or deflationary gap. Next point is money supply and credit creation. It is point number fifth. It studies the components of money supply and how commercial banks add to money supply through credit creation. I will repeat it. It studies, means money supply and credit creation. It studies the components of money supply and how commercial banks add to money supply through credit creation. Next point, government budget. It focuses on the measurement and impact of budgetary deficit in the economy. Last point, exchange rate and BOP. BOP means balance of payments. It analyzes how exchange rate is determined in the international money market and how BOP means balance of payments impacts the level of economic activity in the domestic economy. In short, we can say, when we are talking about macroeconomics, it studies us, it shows us, it studies number one, theory related to equilibrium level of output and employment, theory related to inflationary and deflationary gap in the economy, theory of multiplier, physical and monetary policies, money supply and credit creation, government budget, exchange rate, and BOP means balance of payments. One more point here which is very important. In previous lecture, when we were talking about microeconomics, the focus was towards individual consumer or behavior, consumer or producer. But here in macroeconomics, focus completely shifts from maximization of individuals' gain to the maximization of social welfare. So this was about macroeconomics. Thank you.